Hey, everybody.
Mhm.
Uh,
Okay, perfect. There we
there
go.
you
There we go. I'm not inept. Nikki Payne, get out of here, Nikki. I literally
go.
was just listening to the tail end of the recording you did yesterday, or the promo you did for this one, and I was like, yeah, I could also listen to Nikki talk 24 hours a
Oh,
day, 7 days a
man.
week.
It was such a just stimulating conversation.
She's
Like,
so smart though.
oh my God. Oh my God.
Girl's
It
got
was
them brains.
it's just like I wanted to talk to her for hours just to pick her brain.
Seriously. I
Just
feel
like
that. Oh my god,
now
this is
don't
another
shoot
kilo
yourself
behind.
shot
Whatever.
because I dug into your background too. So I'm like, oh,
Different kind of smarts.
smarts all the way. Okay. Okay. All right. So how it goes with me, I do an intro for you and then we deep dive into the questions.
That sounds great.
Okay, I'm finna get started. So welcome back to Black Girl Tired Book Talk. I am your host, Storm, and tonight's guest is a powerhouse in dark sci-fi, fantasy, romance, post-apocalyptic storytelling, a top 10 USA Times bestseller author, Elizabeth Stevens, is the mind behind some of the most feral, imaginative, boundary-breaking worlds in speculative fiction. And she writes what many of us crave but rarely see. Black and biracial women celebrated loudly in realms of monsters, aliens, gods, quests, brutality, romance, world building, and interstellar apocalypse. Her work is gritty, sexy, terrifying, hopeful, and deeply political all at the same time. A hybrid author blending the freedoms of indie publishing with the strategy of traditional publishing houses like Monolake. Elizabeth is known for her Supers in the City, Population Universe, The Bone King. Now mess us up. Xavier? Xavier?
This is a very mates, yeah.
What's
Xavier mates, that works too. I'm okay. Whatever.
Xavier
I
mate?
write these words down. I don't say them out loud. So when people ask me, I'm like, sounds good.
Xavier Mates, The Huntingtown, Dark City Omega, The Book of Ashes. The list goes on, y'all.
The
Her
Book of
story.
Ashes is not me. I can't
What's up
claim
with
that
you?
one. It's not me. There is literally a book I've been trying. I call them every few months and I'm like, can you guys take this book off my page?
Oh
And they're like, we don't know
wow.
how it got there. We don't know what to do with it. So it just lives there now. So
Her stories
I'm
are
sure
rich.
it's good.
It, Her stories are rich with lore, violence, tenderness, monstrous love, resistance, and a level of world building that rivals the biggest names in the genre. And when she's not crafting universes, she's outside in the Pacific Northwest or adventuring with her husband, kids, and her dog, King Louis, truly living a life as epic as the books she writes. So, let's get into these questions.
That was a hell of an intro. Thank you so much. And thank you
You
for
are
having me.
You are so welcome. So, what is magical about being a storyteller for you? Like, what was the spark, the moment where imagination transformed into a career path instead of a hobby?
Oh man, that's such a good question. It's a loaded one too. I think my writing for me, started way back when I was a little kid and I was got by capitalism and I wanted an American Girl doll. And
Mm,
and I was like, wow, there's no black American Girl dolls. How about that? And
yeah.
so my mom was like, well, if you want an American Girl doll that looks like you, because you could build your own at the time, she's like, write a story. So I wrote
Mm,
a sci-fi romance, as romantic as like an 11-year-old gets. So there was a crush involved. There was some like space opera world building, and I have been writing ever since. But the moment where I finished a book was the first time where I was like, damn, what do I do with this now? And that was where my kind of publishing journey began. It started with an indie press and then moved from there to trying to self-publish because I tried the traditional way first. And, you always get these requests for fulls and stuff, but you never get to the finish line. And,
Yeah.
now I can look back and see, like, I've heard from so many other Black and brown authors, like,
Hmm.
about the kind of coded language that, like, agents and editors will use when they're talking to you, like, about the market and, like, who your
Yeah.
characters don't appeal to. And, it's always very confusing, but that's what's so amazing about the self-publishing space is you hop on this crazy train and then you try to find people who will read your books and hope they like them as much as you do. So that was, it's been a wild
Absolutely.
ride.
So you're known for beastly men and monstrous heroes. What draws you to that trope emotionally, culturally, and symbolically?
I mean, I think there was some deep imprinting when I was a kid and watched Beauty and the Beast for the first time. And the deep, profound disappointment of watching that sexy monster turn into that fugly white boy at the end was
Yes.
so upsetting. So
Yes.
upsetting. Nobody wanted to see that. You could even see the disappointment on her face. There was a female animator on that studio who was like, no. But yeah, so I think that, like, just there's something unique and interesting about working with a monster, and it's both, like, satisfying from a creative, like, outlet and avenue, and then you get to make up whatever you want, but it's also a really fantastic way to tell, like, deeper, more transcendent stories about real life and some of the struggles that you maybe want to talk about on paper but that you don't want to come across as trauma. So it's like it's a fantastic way to transpose real world issues, like, into a fantasy universe in a way that's not, like, aggressive and in your face. So I love working with fantasy as a medium for that reason.
I totally, and I think that's what drew me into fantasy, paranormal, sci-fi, speculative fiction, because the stories are so relatable. I'm not taking away from any romance other than that, but it's just very relatable compared to regular romance, because regular romance, they'd be up in arms if you wrote half of the stuff you write in fantasy into a regular everyday contemporary romance, I'm not sci-fi, but urban romance. If you wrote that stuff in there, oh my god, all hell will break loose. All hell will break
Absolutely.
loose.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, you can get away with a lot. And I think also it's a
mhm.
fantastic outlet for rage. I mean, The Bone King and the Starling was like a direct output after the 2025 elections. So I
Oh,
was feeling real angry, and that book got real violent
oh, I
as a
want to get
result.
dive into that one because it resonates so well as us as women. I don't know a lot of y'all if y'all are into like that type of stuff, but I implore you to read that book because it really gathers the essence of patriarchy. It really does.
Right.
So, how has your identity as a woman of color shaped the worlds and heroines and conflict you create?
Damn, that's a question. A hell of a question. I mean, I think it's obvious. It's funny that Nikki's on this chat because she and Cam Explains It All came up to me actually at an event at Steamy LitCon earlier this month, and they were talking. I can't remember exactly what you said, Nikki, but something about, like, me kind of living in the in between worlds and, like, in the margins, and a lot of my characters are, like, in some way on, like, the fringe of multiple identities. And I'm half black, half white. I was born in Baltimore, lived there for 2 months, moved to Mali, lived in West Africa until I was 5 or 6, moved to Seattle, and then lived in Atlanta for most of my childhood, moved back to Seattle. And then after college, which I did in DC, and in college, I lived in Egypt, I lived in Jordan, and I lived in France. And then after that, I moved to Geneva, and after Geneva, we were in Ethiopia, Egypt, South Africa, and Germany before I came back to the States, and have
Wow.
been here for 3 years now, or four, going on 4. And so I just think a lot of my storytelling comes absolutely 1,000% from both the. I mean, Starling is a character that I wrote specifically because of my place in the world and like how many times I find myself in either foreign or white, like even when I'm home, like in white only spaces. I live in the Pacific Northwest now. It's like they're not. Where are my people at? You know, unless I'm at my own family's house, like I don't see people. Like I can go days without seeing another black person. I'll see a black person on the street, and we kind of look at each other like, oh, fancy seeing you here. It's
You know
really,
what?
really
It
nice.
reminds me of Nikki Payne's book of Sex, Lies, and Sensibilities when they were in Maine and they just didn't see anybody of color for like miles. Like,
Right. It's like it's a reality. It's a thing. It's intense. And Starling is a character who is the only person of color in her entire village, and she's treated like shit. She's both fetishized for it and ostracized for it at the same time. And King Kalai was a character I wrote specifically as a reaction to like the 92%. It was like the 92% did so much lifting in that election and couldn't drive it over the finish line. And I was like, I don't want to write a book where like black woman has to save the day. I want to write a book where a black woman is like, this is all the things that are wrong and have somebody else fix it.
I know that's right. I know that's right. So, dark science fiction and fantasy by BIPOC authors is powerful, layered, and politically charged, but often undervalued in traditionally publishing. How has your experience been?
I mean, it's definitely one of those situations. And of course, I can't like speak to all of traditional. It's like that is the definition of racism, right? Is you're like, is it because I'm black? It's just the fact that you have to ask is like part of the problem. And so, I probably shouldn't even be saying this online, but like I worked with an agent who like some clients seemed to get a lot better treatment and I couldn't really figure out why that was. And it was the kind of thing where, I directly asked, I said, hey, like, what do I have to do to get treatment like this other author, who's like a debut author, doesn't have any books out, like untested, but has like a bajillion followers on TikTok. And, the response is, oh, well, that person's, going to be an instant New York Times bestseller. And then it was just so frustrating that like my book came out and was an instant USA Today bestseller. And it was like, okay, it's not the New York Times, but like still pretty good. Like it's still all right. And so then, and like even leading up to that, even my agent at the time was like talking about the kind of support that it felt like I was getting from my editorial team. And she was like, this is the worst I've seen, like on my catalog. And it was really disappointing and disheartening. And then to find out that like readers had come through for me and like pushed me and pushed this book into like onto the USA Today bestseller list. Like I was never a person who set out writing to make the USA Today bestseller list. Anyways, I could have a whole conversation about goal setting and being an author, but it was always just something that was out there. I was like, I just need to be able to afford to live and like do this job. Like that's all I'm focused on. But making that list was really important. I didn't realize how important it would be because all of a sudden my editorial team was like, oh, like, do you want, like, remember when you asked us to send you some books that we could send to stores and they sent me like 100 books that they could send to stores? Well, well, like we ran out of those obviously instantly and we don't have any more books printed. And so should we just send you like 2,000 next time? And it was just such a, you have to prove yourself is the short answer to the question. You have to do a lot of proving yourself.
That is crazy. We see white authors sometimes still, and I'm not generalizing white authors before anyone gets in the comments.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, like I have white author friends too who struggle. So it's not exclusive to.
It's not a generalization, but if y'all know my show, y'all know I would crash out quick. So we see some white authors like still rebrand and repackage tropes, mythos, and stories that BIPOC indie writers originated. What do you think fuels this erasure?
I think they see, I mean, I watched like a long time ago now, but that like Elvis documentary they did, and they talked about how Elvis just stole all the music from the
Big
black folk
Mama,
and
Big
then
Mama
made,
Thornton.
yeah, all the money. I mean, I don't think it's any different. And it's probably not an intentional thing. I'm gonna, give everybody the benefit of the doubt. But you read a good book, you're like, wow, there are some themes in here I could replicate. But if you're a white author, you're gonna replicate them for a white, like through a white lens. I think probably one of my, like the most telling examples of that, I'm like, I hate to call her out on this because I actually read the book and thought it was great, but like, oh shit, no, I can't remember. The Right Move, I think it was called. It was like a book that was a black, well, two black characters in it, but it was written by a white author, and um it was like rom-commy and stuff, and it was great, but then it got picked up for traditional publishing, and the traditional publisher wanted to publish it during Black History Month, and it was like,
Whoa.
anyways, it got a lot of backlash for that, thankfully, because a lot of them don't, and they ended up just taking the print rights, but or something, I don't know, but it wasn't published during Black History Month, thankfully. It's just like, I think that white people want to read a story a certain way, and so it's easy to kind of rob the meaty elements and then whitewash them. Is
I
probably
see
the
that.
short answer.
So, how has the social economy, popularity, class divides, virality shape who gets amplified versus who gets ignored in speculative fiction? Jesus.
I know. I think my agent story is kind of like a testament to that. It's just, I think some folks have a lot easier time. I talk to I have black friends that are like have huge followings online, and they talk about, they'll send me like accounts that started around the same time as them to be like, oh, like what's spot the difference, same kind of content, same level of professionalism, like started around the same time, but we'll have like 10 times more followers. And we know that the TikTok app, when it rolled out, like specifically repressed black and brown faces, and like ugly, like faces it considered ugly, only attractive people got, what they considered attractive were, front and center. So I think it's pretty clear. And then publishing houses, they want easy access to an automatic readership. So it's very easy for them to just place a bet on a super popular content creator and see what
Yeah, because
happens.
I'm still trying to figure out how that Aussie guy got a deal without writing a book. I'm just, I'm kind of flabbergasted about that.
Flabbergasted.
So Octavia Butler is foundational, yet publishing still centers everybody else outside of BIPOC communities as the innovators of sci-fi. And how do we reclaim, preserve, and expand Black and BIPOC imaginative futures?
Man, Octavia Butler, she is really the queen. And it is a shame that when you have conversations around that she's not at least the second name that gets mentioned. Like, come on, come on. Yeah, how do we do a better job? I think it's, I think it's, I want to say it's happening, but I don't know if it is. I think some of it is happening. I think that because we are able to curate spaces for us to thrive, that we are able to push, like the fact that, I was able to reach a community that's mostly online that helped push my book front and center somewhere means like more, it's an ecosystem, and like we're thriving within it, and publishing is taking note. And so I think we're doing everything right. And I do think that I just saw that the author H.M. Wolf just got like a killer deal by a black editor, of course, Aj is like a champion. And there are statistics. I think Arif Kwong, whenever she does a talk, always like because she's like also genius. And she's always references this statistic that I wish I could remember exactly, but she talks about how there was like the first Black editor got hired at HarperCollins in the 90s, and there was like, you can see the graph of like black authors in publishing, and it just spikes right when she was employed there. And that was like, yeah, like she increased it by like some vast, enormous percentage, and then when she left, it died back down again. And I think getting more people into the publishing system is a start also. I don't have any freaking clue who decides to go into publishing or how, because I even just had a interview with like a Black graduate student researcher, and she was talking to me. She's in like all these publishing courses now, and I was like, so are you like, please get into publishing? And she was like, actually, you know what, I have this other really cool innovative idea on the side. And I'm like, that's the problem. It's like we all see that the systems aren't built for us, and so we're all doing stuff on the side, but it works too, you know. I mean, after the end had like mostly BIPOC creators in it, BIPOC authors in it, and that did phenomenally well. So I also think maybe like, I don't know, the dystopian rebel within me is like, maybe we're crashing the system a little bit, and like maybe we're coming up with alternate ways to succeed.
I think crashing the system in an anarchy type way is sometimes good. It's sometimes good. I mean, how else can they hear you?
How
You know what I'm saying? So sometimes you just have to be loud and raunchy about it. Like,
yeah, absolutely. Hell yeah.
so as a hybrid author, what are the biggest pros and cons of the indie side versus the traditional side?
Man, being a hybrid author is the best. Anybody that's got a shot at going hybrid, do it. It is really the way forward. And there's so many reasons why it's so great, because indie publishing, you know, I tried the trad way, wasn't getting anywhere, went indie, and indie was able to, you know, I was able to like get the ball rolling and like really get to where I needed to go. But indie's also like really expensive. And it's hard some months. Like I remember I had like an indie, like my first indie year, or like maybe my second, where my like top earning month was $6,000 and my lowest earning month was negative $600. And that's just really tough. Like that's so hard. And so once you get to like a point in your career, if you have like the ability to go hybrid, even from the jump, take it, because it's expensive being indie. It's free to be traditional, but traditional is very scary getting the way that you're paid. So for me, like a lot of this comes down to, like I said, my goal as an author is to make sure that I can do this sustainably. And that means being able to get like a regular paycheck. I live in Seattle. It's really expensive out here. I have to kids. Like it's a lot. Yeah. And so when I'm like, if I'm trad only and I'm getting, you know, I see these deals are like a major deal, $500,000 for 4 books. And I'm like, that's terrifying to me. That's so scary. Because let's say you get 50 grand up front, but your first book doesn't come out for 2 years. Like you're sitting, that's what you have to pay yourself with for the next 2 years, and then some, because you have to earn out your advance. So having that residual income on the side, and the Bone King and the Starling was a direct product of me being like, holy cow, I haven't published anything. Let me go for it. And, you know, I'd already written this book. I had no intention of publishing it because I was like, this is too violent. People are going to think this is too intense. And I wrote it for myself, and then was like, like, I haven't had a paycheck in a while. Like, I maybe need to just hurry this along. And I put it out, and y'all loved it, and it was amazing. And that, you know, I was able to take more time and work on these other books on the side.
So why is being hybrid important for Black and BIPOC and those who are really trying to get into dark genres in fantasy and sci-fi and speculative fiction, especially those genres?
Oh, Aj is the first person that comes to mind for this, because she is actually the person that connected me to my first literary agent. She is a champion of Black voices in this space. She is incredible. Like, even though we didn't end up working together and she got nothing out of it, she was able to like basically help engineer me getting my first deal, which is Amazing. But Aj did email me the other day and she's like, so what you working on now? Anything with enthusiastic consent? Because
Oh, oh.
she knows me too well. And yeah, the project I'm working on for Bonkers Romance is my least enthusiastic consent. It's like a non-con monster romance. I write stuff that scares me, and that book terrifies me. I'm obsessed with it. I think it's my favorite thing I've ever written. I'm so excited for y'all to read it and be like, what's wrong with you?
Okay.
Yeah,
So
but
let me
being hybrid means that I can do that
let
because my traditional books aren't going to let me get away with
I,
this was crazy. They let me get away with this. I still can't believe it. But
I like crazy in my fantasy. And you know what's crazy? I don't like it in regular romance, but I can endure it in fantasy and paranormal.
oh, totally. I'm the same way. It's like a contemporary romance where you have a red flag guy. I'm like, this is too real.
So
But
if
if
it's
it's like
dark
a 9 foot
romance,
monster, sure.
mm-mm. I can't do dark romance so much. I take it in increments, but if you give me a dark fantasy or a dark paranormal, I'll eat it up.
I
I,
always talk about Run by Eve Vaughn because that book was so dark. That was that's
mm.
my baseline for dark. That book scarred me for life. I still think about it. In a good way, in a good way.
So your Kickstarter was history making
Yeah, that Kickstarter was crazy.
and massive success. What made you take that leap?
I mean, I can't claim any credit for the founding idea. That was Adriana Herrera popping into my DMs being like, "Hey, we have an idea." And I was like, "All right." And then we chatted more about it and like it was cool that the group came together and like came up with like they knew they wanted to do dystopian, but I had just watched Fallout and was like, let's do Bunkers. And then we did Bunkers, and then it just was like so many different pieces. Like, what are we going to add? Are we going to do audiobooks? And that was really cool to see a Kickstarter in the romance genre perform that well because I think that there have been really like the Bonkers romance ones, they do like 500K every time, but to be eighth highest in the entirety of Kickstarter was
Mm, that's
awesome.
amazing. What did the campaign teach you about marketing and readership in the future of publishing?
I mean, I think it's just another one of these cracks in the system, where I
Mhm.
think we're seeing more opportunity for unconventional forms of publishing, and that gets me really excited. I think my favorite thing about publishing and being an indie publishing is, I saw Katie Robert post something today online, and she said, the only universal advice in publishing is that at some point in your career you're going to have to pivot, and the pivoting is my favorite part. It's like not just about what you write, but it's like how you write, what format you do. Like if you're trying serials or focusing on your Patreon or doing direct orders or like just focusing on events or going there's just so many different ways to be an author, and I think that's pretty sick. I like it a lot.
What does showing up for community look like to you, whether you're indie, hybrid, traditional, or all three? What does that look like?
I mean, I think it's always just reaching back and pulling as hard as you can, as many people as you can, pulling up with you. Every step you take, like just trying to like bring people along. And I think there are like some white authors out there, like big white authors out there that do a fantastic job of platforming off like black authors, but just authors from marginalized groups in general. Like I think Allie Hazelwood does a fantastic job at this, and Katie Robert does a fantastic job at this, and I think Kennedy Ryan, if you talk about like big authors in our space that are doing the most for community, like it's
Yeah.
so cool to see her out here with her platform that she has now and like how much she does for the black community. So I try to do it in the little ways that I can. I'm not anywhere near Kennedy Ryan's status, but like just every time I can, shouting about other black books, shouting about other black authors, telling people to read them. And when hopefully I've been talking to some authors about doing like a black, like a maybe after something like After the End, but for black books, or
Mm-hmm.
figuring out where the community is and where they would do that. like seeing if we can get stuff going in the alternate spaces since the
Yeah.
big spaces are so tough for
Yeah.
us.
So I did some research, and you have the Six Figure Author PDF. This this case study on yourself was so transparent and revolutionary to me because you don't see that often. Why was sharing your financial journey important to put out there?
This is literally another way that I'm trying to like give back to the community. And it wasn't my original idea. Lee Savino was an author I saw do this very early on in my career. She writes like werewolf shifter romances, but she also does a lot of like indie author support stuff. She's an author who's never gone trad, but who has like is this like 7-figure income by now. Like you may not even have ever heard of her, but she's super successful because she just knows what she's doing and she does what she does very well. And one of the things I really found so hard when I was like, I think I want to try this career full time was not knowing even what to expect to potentially earn. Like where are like my contemporaries, what do their numbers look like? And like I don't care how much anybody's making, I just care how much I'm making. So I want to know like what, and you know, it was so informative for me when I was first trying to negotiate this Mont Lake deal, talking to like Kimberly Lemming was super helpful, but also like a couple other authors. I can't even remember who now, but just trying to see, like, tell me openly what their advance numbers were and to tell me like what I should expect and like to know if I'm being shortchanged or not taken seriously was also like part of the process. And so I wanted to then, you know, pay it forward and share. Anybody can ask me how much I earn on anything, and I will tell you privately. I have like stuff in my contract, so I can't post exactly how much my advances are and stuff like that without getting into trouble. But I'm happy to talk about it because I think it's really important for other authors that are like going to write similar genres, especially Black ones, to know like, okay, well, Elizabeth got at least this much. I'm not going to take any less.
So how did revealing those numbers help dismantle gatekeeping and shame around earning in this industry?
Yeah, I mean, it's so easy to look at an author, like to come into my journey now and be like, oh, she's earning over 6 figures now. Like, forget about her. But it's a lot easier to be like, oh, I just started. Actually, Elizabeth earned like $500 her first year. Like it's a very different, you know, it's very different than just being like, and I think like Bethany Baptiste does this too, where she posts her numbers sometimes in threads, and that's super helpful too. I also love when authors post like how much it costs them to publish a book, because that's also information that's not super readily available. But in either case, yeah, it's a toolbox in the arsenal when you're trying to advocate for yourself, because you actually like, you know, what the hell, like you got someplace to start, someplace to benchmark.
So I want to talk about some of your books. I'm not going to go into all of them because I could, but I'm not trying to keep you on here for like 3 or 4 hours.
I know, sorry. You might hear my husband fighting our baby to death in the background. So
you're going to hear my husband on the game. Okay.
It's no big deal. Losing the battle to the 5-month-old.
So let's talk about the Huntingtown.
Oh my God, that's funny. Starting with the Huntingtown?
Yes. We got to give them some background, man. We got to give them All right. So Knox and Mir, a fire and gasoline combination. What emotional wounds define their push and pull?
Oh my God, I can't even believe you're talking about this book. I pretend I never wrote this book and the next book in that series. I literally never market them. I never talk about them. And it's because it's like, it was such a weird book. It was like, I wrote Knox and Mir just as like, plumeria, because I was jonesing for like a fighter romance where like both of them were like equally as nuts. And I got to a certain point in that book and It wasn't that I got bored. It was that I was so taken with the other characters. It's the only book in my catalog that exists like it does. There's like
Yeah.
6 different POVs in each book. Like 2.5 couples get their HEAs on every book. And I had so much fun with the format, and I love the plot, and I have a third book in my head mapped out, but I'm just like, I've like left that dimension so far behind. I don't know when I'll get back to it. Yeah, I can't even remember your question, but you threw me off. You threw me off. I never talk about this book. I never talk about this book.
But you had Latinx representation in that book. And so how was it? Like, what makes Mira such a standout heroine in like the Latinx representation within dark romance?
It was a weird choice even for me. Like, I almost always write Black women FMCs, and that series has, the first book only has one, and she's a mixed Black woman, and then there's a white woman with a Black man, and then a Mexican woman with also I think a white guy. Can't remember actually. I can't remember, but I think I was also at the point, this is something that I do across all of my books, where I try to challenge myself with the next book that I write in every possible way. So if I'm working on like Zaveri Mates, like one of the things I didn't want to do was have repetition. And so every single pairing is going to be in some way unique, and every single planet is going to be in some way unique. And I had just finished writing the Populations, book 1 and 2. And both of those have interracial Black-white pairing of some kind. And I wanted to do something different. And I'd never written a Hispanic character before. And I haven't ever written like Mexican FMC again. And I wanted to just give it a go.
I'm glad you brought up the Xavier, those books taken by, what is it, Vorexa?
Sure, Vorexia, yeah.
Vorexa blends like dark fantasy, sci-fi, monster romance, and political rebellion. What sparked this universe?
Oh man, I was deep in my sci-fi era when I started writing this. I was like, I always tell people, if you've read Venomous by Penelope Fletcher, Alpha by Tia Rain, His to Claim by Taylor Vaughn, Captive of the Horde King by Zoe Draven, you've read Taken to Vorexia. Those were like, and Ice Planet Barbarians by Ruby Dixon was like also a book that I had read at the time and really enjoyed. And when I set about writing this world, I wanted something that lived in between like the Ruby Dixon and the Taylor Vaughn, something that wasn't like so dark as the Taylor Vaughn ones, because both Eve Vaughn and Theodora Taylor do dark.
Yes, I love Taylor.
And I was like, trauma and adoration at the same time. And then also like the lightness of a Ruby Dixon book was like, I found it quite pleasant, but I wanted something in between. My in-between thing. And also Miari was a character that stood out for me because she was mixed, of course, and she's mixed, half Black, half alien. And so it's both a book about her trying to find her place in her own community as well as this new community, and then like acting as a bridge between the two was unsurprisingly something important and close to me.
So that leads me to my next question. Like, your heroine is smart. She's resistant. So what does hybrid identity mean in this universe and in ours?
What kinds of questions are these? This is hard questions.
These hard questions.
That's so hard.
This is what I gathered from the book.
This is like the hardest question I've ever had in an interview. Oh, damn. There's like so much about being mixed that is like a blessing and a curse. But I think in the context of Miari and her being I think her like smarts come as a product of her having to like like she's literally an engineer because she has to build her own, like everything she has to build is her own, like everything is new for her, everything is like, if she's, you know, going to be rejected by a community, you know, lost, like loss of family, has to build a new one. If she is, you know, in this situation where she's being hunted by king of, you know, the Federation, and he has like, she has like limited means of communicating with him on a cultural level, like she's going to have to build a way to do just that and to get what to survive, you know,
Yeah.
in essence. And I don't know, I think like there's always something I see on social media that's like, you know, lucky for the world that black women aren't vengeful. I think it's the same thing for, you know, mixed women too. Like I think it's weird coded training to try to help even the people that maybe wronged you.
Yeah. So the Phyrexian kings are terrifying, but they sexy as fuck. What makes the balance work romantically?
I loved writing the sexual bartering between Miyari
You
and
are the
Raku.
first author
It's
that said that. Most authors be like, I cannot stand the sex scenes. I hate writing them.
what? Oh my
Yes!
god! No, stop. The sex scenes and the action scenes are the two funnest scenes to write. Absolute best. Absolute best. But I loved using enemies to lovers in the context of fated mates. And I think that was, you asked me a question before, like where my books fit in or like what sparked them. I noticed there was a lot of either enemies to lovers or fated mates, and I wanted to do both. And I am obsessed with this combination. And I think it's a combination that like I came up with and taken to Viraxia that has existed in every single one of my books since, to a certain degree. And that is where you get to really play with power, because you have a situation where you have, usually in my books, like a FMC who's coming from like she lacks power in the hierarchy. She is in some way like subjugated. And then you have this MMC who has all the power and who is fated, and potentially only one way. Like maybe he's fated and she's not. And so he has to rectify that power imbalance in order to get what he wants, which is the attentions of this FMC. And that's, I just love that juxtaposition. I love that tension. I think it creates epic angst and super fun sex scenes, and is like a very fun way to get, like, for the FMC to be able to like whip that man around.
Yeah. Speaking of subjugation, this series deals with subjugation of women before shattering that system. Why was that arc important to show?
I wanted to have a dystopian system of oppression, and I think it's just easy to use women. Maybe it's just the one where your brain goes to first because of the society we live in now. And maybe, you know, it's got to come from some place of frustration on my side too, probably with, you know, just being a woman in the world. And I've lived in so many weird places where women are treated like different, like getting rocks thrown at you, or like dates thrown at you, or like that kind of stuff, or like I don't know, it's just too much. So I think it's probably a good answer is probably that it's a reaction from some of my own lived experience, some of societal expectations on women, and definitely just wanting to shatter that in like a pretty epic way.
So Dark City Omegas. Echo is running from a world that sees her as a prey. What vulnerabilities make her journey compelling?
I loved writing Echo. This like really closed off female main character was not one I had worked with so much since writing Kiki, who's like the star of book two in the Very Maid series, because Kiki is like my most wounded FMC. And she was really tough to work with. I had like a really hard time writing her. And so getting a little bit back to that, but in like a less wounding kind of way with Echo was a nice return, because I also liked pitting her against a main male character who wasn't as perfect as like the main male character I had to give Kiki, because she needed that care and compassion from someone who was deeply understanding and very kind. And I liked the vulnerabilities of Echo because Adam had almost like the opposite. Like there was no reason for the two of them to have come together, and like forcing them to bond as allies and actually like war together against like a greater opponent was like a way that you're able to like bring some of those walls down and like help him. He was like a character, like a main male character that I gave more arc to, I think, than I had in a lot of my previous books. And I enjoyed writing him immensely. But her vulnerabilities were really important to her because she was already in a vulnerable position, but like so locked up, and just having her not just be like free of like the shackles of her system, but also free of the kind of burden of that she had felt of her existence was a really important plot line.
So I'm not gonna say enemies to love. I'm gonna say enemies to forever is the core theme. What does claiming mean in your worlds versus toxic possessiveness?
Well, the claiming I think is usually pretty clear because there is a lot of wooing that still needs to happen after the like initial. He always falls first in my books. He always falls first. He falls hard. He's done something wrong, and so he's got to fix it. And that act of repair, I think, is something that is so vital to my books and to the way that I write. And it's why I'm actually suffering and struggling through the book that I'm writing now, because I've never written, like, if you talk about non-con and dub-con, there's really no such thing as dub-con. Like, it's all non-con. It's just the way we think about it is different. Like, when you think about, like, grape, you think about, like, stranger and, like, violence. And, like, some of mine is, like, sexual bartering or, like, deep power imbalances or things that are actually non-con, where someone like Starling doesn't have the ability, really, in that situation to say no. And one of the things that I'm working on now is like writing this book that I read, like a Harlequin, like The Wolf and the Dove. I don't know if you guys ever read that one. It's one of my mom's books that like sits on her shelf. She's a Harlequin romance fanatic. And it's like a grape book. Like he storms the castle, there's grape, and then they never discuss it. Like it's just a thing that's allowed, that's like a convention of a lot of the books that are written in this time. Like a lot of books have this. And I always found it deeply fascinating that women are so drawn to this as a plot line, but also that there's no introspection, there's no inspection of the act. And one of the things that I don't have the ability to write a book like that because all of my characters are deeply fleshed out. And that's something that I'm trying to do for this book right now. And it's really hard. Like writing a character that has that kind of, like that commits that kind of atrocity in the beginning and trying to get them to a redemption is like, it's fascinating. But I am I'm really loving I try to, again, like I said, I try to outdo myself in every book, and this is truly a work. Yeah, I'm excited to hear what y'all think about it when it comes out.
So let's talk about the Bone King. This is dark, but it's good. It's dark. It's torture, sacrifice, brutality. What emotional preparation did this story require from you?
The 2025 elections. Emotional preparation, more like emotional destruction. And so it all just came out on the page. So frustrated, so angry, so
Yeah,
angry.
yeah, I felt that. Um, your heroine is a thrall, yet she shows resilience and softness. How did you maintain her agency in a world set up to strip it away?
I think that's Starling's power is her softness, and it was a character that I hadn't, I think we often get lost in the trope of the angry, vengeful black woman, and it was just a different woman I wanted to write. Like, I love a good, angry, vengeful black woman. Fucking
Mm-hmm.
fantastic. But I really wanted to see, like, black is not a monolith. And that's
Yeah,
something that I also want to showcase in all of my stories, is just how different black people can be. And writing Starling was super cathartic because she was one who was probably not the person that I would be in that situation. She's
yeah,
deeply forgiving and deeply loving, like, at her
yeah,
core. And so to have these kinds of wrongs committed against her, like, retribution, it wasn't ever really anything she would have wanted. It was just really fun for me to write.
facts.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm the vengeful black woman. So that's Starling doesn't have to be.
So, how do you approach writing dark themes responsibly, especially for Black women who are protagonists in your stories?
I have a black sensitivity reader, which is fucking wild because you would think, but since she started working on some of my books, it's like the craziest littlest things where, and this book especially, because I was dealing with such a power imbalance for black women. I was like, I need somebody else to look at this. I had already told myself I wasn't going to put this book out into the world because I was like, writing a lone black woman in an all white society just as a punchline is not fucking funny. Like, it's
Yeah,
not cool at all. And putting her in the position of thrall, again, not fucking cool. And like, having her like basically in a non-con scenario with a white man, not fucking cool. If I said any of these things aloud to anyone and they were trying to pitch me a book, like if somebody said this to me and was trying to pitch me that book, I'd be like, you've lost your damn mind. But it was something that like I needed. I don't know why I needed it. I just needed it. And yeah, and it was really important for me to get a paid set of eyes on that to tell me
yeah.
like where I crossed a line. And she caught some things too that that I had missed.
Ooh, Lord, I can't wait to read this damn book. Um, so, all superheroes need PR. Book one. Hmm. This book is like different. It's comedic. It's
So
bright. It's
different.
romantic. It's a lot of things, but still rooted in power and myth. How do you balance humor with high stakes?
Yeah, this was so different and fun for me. And I think I also really needed that. Like, I had just written The Bone King and the Starling, and like on top of that, had been working on All Superheroes Need PR, and writing really dark with like rom-commy was like essential. It was like the equilibrium my brain needed at the
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
But I also like I've seen, it's just funny because I saw like Honey and Spice is getting a movie
yeah.
adaptation, and somebody posted online and they were like, we need more black rom-coms. And I was like, is that what I've been missing? Like, have I been needing more black rom-coms too? Like, I chase anyone that I can find. And
Yeah.
I love a good rom-com. Like, and seeing two black protagonists is awesome. And I knew when I set out writing, this world, that I wanted it to be fun. I wanted it to
Yeah.
be like pure escapism. I wanted both main characters in the books to be black. I wanted
Yeah.
them, or I mean, he's an alien, but black presenting.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be able to have, like, I thought it made sense. It fit well with my like trad line.
Yeah.
And so I thought this was like just a perfect opportunity. It was like a plot that I had in mind to write like years from now. But when my traditional deal ended up coming through, Dark City Omega was on the table for it. And they were like, no, give us something else. And I was like, I have this idea. And she was like, I'll take it. I'll take it. And that's how these books came to be.
I like them.
But yeah, but I'm also like incapable of escaping like what is like quintessentially me as an author, which are these like high stakes, like big action scenes, like a lot on the line, and that being like emotions too. So
yeah. So Roland is chaotic. He's gruff and he's sexy. What made you fuse villain to hero with PR rebranding?
I worked in marketing and comms and PR before I switched to being an author. And so like writing about this was kind of fun. And it's also like write what you know. So if I don't want to have to think too much about like getting stuff right, like if she'd been a neurosurgeon, that would have been a whole different set of research.
Right.
And so I kind of went with like, okay, what's a little familiar to me? What could I write that would be realistic? Because I'm kind of scared of writing contemporary. I think it's hard to get stuff right that's like rooted in the real world. It's hard, like it's real. People know what it is. If I'm like, this is a Varaxian surgeon and I'm using whatever implements I want, doing whatever I want, that's fine. If I'm like, this is a human surgeon, somebody's gonna be like, that's not how that works. So I'm actually working on a contemporary romance. I went with the PR, but the villain like hero debate is something that is going to persist across, but we have the hero's arc with book 1 and book 2. But I just posted today online that my deal announcement came through for books 3 and 4, but they're actually like books 1 and 2 of a spin-off, which is Villains in the City, covering 2 of the like quintessential villains who, oh my gosh, spoiler alert, may have like some heroic traits too.
Oh shit. Well, congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm super excited. It was wild because I actually did that one without an agent, so I'm like, did I just fuck everything up? But let's see.
So Vanessa, she's shy, but she's brilliant. How does neurodivergency and anxiety and introversion show up in her character?
Yeah, I wanted to write a character who was like, again, just talking about like Black people not being a monolith. Like there are Black folks who go to therapy. Like challenging the notion that Black people don't go to therapy is in steps Vanessa. And she's just like somebody who, I am like a pretty awkward person, and she's someone who takes my awkwardness to like seven extremes later. And I'm like, if I were in the situation and I were like, really, if I didn't have that thing in your brain that goes like, be normal, be cool, like this might be what I ended up looking like. And so that was also like kind of a fun catharsis there. But she was, she's my therapy girl, my therapy kid who like helps Roland also understand that like mental health is important and he needs to get his mind straight while also not doing that heavy lifting for him.
Yeah. Okay. Book 2, I have the art and I was reading it, and Lord, Monica and how do you say his name? Tyrannus?
Right.
She said right.
Yeah, right. Tyrannus. Yeah. Don't even ask me. I even went through a whole thing. They asked me, how do you pronounce Darius? And I had like a whole system breakdown where I was like, is it Darius? Is it Darius? I was like, I don't even know. Like, do I not know now?
Okay. So what made the photography the perfect lens literally for this love story?
I like, it's crazy the way stuff jumps out at you and sticks at you, but I watched the movie Civil War, and it was after that where I was like, I need a war photographer. And I had written her already as like I had written her already, and then I watched Civil War, and that kind of cemented everything for me. But I had written her in as a side character. She was never supposed to get a book. She was not. Yeah, I wrote her in as this like I just needed somebody taking the pictures in the tunnel scene in book 1, which is like one of my favorite scenes I've ever written anywhere. I've never written a scene like that before where all of the action is happening and you're watching a character watching TV of the action. I don't know why I still read that scene back and get goosebumps. I thought it was so cool. I loved it. But Monica was such a cool character in that scene and she was so badass and I loved it and I loved her and I was like, damn, I actually got to write her a book now. And Tyrannus was always a character I planned to work with and planned to make a villain. And he actually had a totally different love interest in the beginning, but I realized I needed somebody who was like Monica to put him in his proper place.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So the book asks, can you love someone you're not sure you can trust? How would you answer that question in fiction versus reality?
In reality, you cannot. That is not possible. In fiction, it's very possible. Because you have a guaranteed happily ever after at the end of the book. And along the way, you both make concessions for each other so that you can find trust. The end result in either case is you have to trust. And trust is a really big theme in a lot of my books. I find myself using that word often because love and trust walk very hand in hand. Hand in hand. And so you really can't, you can't somebody that you don't trust. It's just in books you're allowed to not trust them at the beginning. In real life, I hope that
absolutely not. Tyrannus, his hero villain duality. What fascinates you about morally gray characters?
I mean, we all got some morally gray in us. It's just these are real morally gray. So it's just fun. In fiction, you gotta make everything bigger. So that's the short answer. Make it the realities we feel, but make them big. And Tyrannus is easily my most red flaggy MMC yet. And if you don't have even the most basic understanding of dom sub dynamics, I feel you're not gonna like him by the time you finish the book, because
I'm glad you said that, because I kept saying he has all these BDSM qualities.
Yeah, he does, and so does Monica. That's duality of woman as well, because she was this badass war photographer. I loved him. I know I loved him too. I always liked him. I thought he was great, but a lot of people messaged me after and they were like, he's real mean. I'm like, yeah, he
just didn't take any shit.
He doesn't, and Monica also doesn't, so that's why she's absolutely perfect for him.
So before I get to my next questions, could you tell them where they can get your books and where they can pre-order the second book?
Yes, you can pre-order. This book comes out on Tuesday of next week, the 25th. I think that's right. But you can pre-order it anywhere in paperback and audio and an ebook. It's on Amazon. It's with Montlake. It's on Amazon. And when it comes out on day of, it'll be in Kindle Unlimited in both ebook and audio, which is kind of cool. But I also have pinned to my profile and my Instagram a long list of indie bookstores that are selling All Superheroes Need Photo Ops and signed copies and with artwork. So you can definitely shop there. We love
what type of artwork?
Very sexy artwork. Frame noir, chef's kiss. So good. So good.
So let me ask you, the New York Times bestselling list, the USA Today's list, often has a bias towards BIPOC authors unless they perform at the level that the old guard rule type is sometimes. So what are your thoughts on the lack of inclusion on these lists? Especially, I know indie authors, they're rarely on these lists. What would you change?
I just would change anybody caring about lists. That's what I would change. I really,
Yeah.
really don't give a shit about a list. I don't at all. I really don't. I think that it has power, and because we give it power, and because the old guard has decided that this is like the metric by which we all measure our success. But I just like when the Goodreads Choice Awards come out, I like literally do not care. I do not
Yeah.
care at all. And I think it's because being a Black indie reader, like I'm so used to finding books that are like on the fringe, like in the margins, that are not like the big ones. And even if it is like, if it is a big book, I'm probably, that's going to be a reason for me not to read it, because
Yeah.
I'm going to assume it's written for a person who's not like me and not interested in the same kind of books that I'm interested in. Like I love a book that's on Amazon that has 18 reviews. I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
in. Let's see
Yeah.
what you. Yeah, like
Yeah. Me too.
I really hate lists. I hate talking about them. And I
Yeah.
especially hate lists that are in any way, shape, or form like human curated. That's why I like the USA Today bestseller list. Is even that's weird. It's not super transparent how they do their numbers, but theoretically it should be best selling by numbers titles in a category. That's also why I like Amazon rankings, because Amazon rankings, we saw like I'm blanking on the author name, get to like number one in the Amazon
12J.
store. Yes, thank you. And that is a book that's never gonna make number one on the New York Times bestseller list. And it's bullshit. Like, why shouldn't it? It's literally probably, has USA Today or New York Times numbers. So why is there an editorial factor at all? Like, how are we deciding which of these books are like right for the times or
Yeah.
important for 2025? That shouldn't be up to a person to
I'm
decide.
still hanging on Harry Potter.
I mean,
Yeah.
come on.
Uh, yeah. So how do how do us as a people, readers, authors, people of color, fight for visibility without moral policing or replicating oppressive class structures?
Damn. I mean, that's hard. That's a hard one. I think it's really hard. I don't know. I'm just like still thinking about this like threads debate that happened a couple days ago about like AI use in the Black community. And I'm just like, it's freaking hard. Like, it's getting all on the same page is like, it's a grace that like other communities like not being on the same page is like a grace afforded to other communities. It just sucks that like we all have to be, when advocating, we all have to advocate as one. Otherwise, there's just not a critical mass of us to push. And so I think like finding incredible spaces where we can be loud and talk and have debate. I mean, I know online spaces can be super toxic, but I do think they're
As
really
hell.
important for us. Yeah, I know they're terrible. And then finding these in-person spaces like Black Romance Book Festival and like, I mean, even Steamy LitCon was an amazing event that I attended as a Black author, and like finding, there's so many like Black focused events just like for romance. I don't know how many there are. And yeah, and then like the group chat and like getting aligned and like talking to peers is really important, as well. And just making sure that we're all staying connected and that we are like showing grace wherever we
Yeah.
can, and like being as inclusive as we can be within our own community.
I do think that people can have to understand two things can be right at the same time. And
Yeah.
there's so many economical, social, societal things that go on into both sides. But it's unfortunate. I'm right, you're wrong. I'm right, you're wrong.
Yeah.
So that in itself causes a whole bunch of chaos, because the one thing that is the barrier is being open minded. We are literally open minded about fiction, but we are not open minded about reality.
Yeah, it's crazy how difficult that is, and how like social media being like not at all an appropriate place to have
No.
like Yeah, it would be great if there were like industry bodies made up of Black people that could help be like leading and guiding forces. But the problem is that we do have to like in some ways,
Yeah.
come together one by one, and that's really, really challenging because we don't have the benefit of like one big institution that tells us what's right and what's wrong.
Yeah, I've always said I'm not the Martin Luther King type. I'm the Malcolm X type. So I'm I'm a crash out. So
Yeah. You know what though? That's the problem is that we're all the Malcolm X type. And so
but
when people are like on either side and they're like both the Malcolm X types and then we're just like carnage. It's just I don't know how we bring
I feel like people are now when I say this, people don't take it personal. I feel like people portray the Malcolm X type, but really are the Marjorie Taylor Greene type. Um, um, because
you did not go there.
I'm serious.
Oh
It's
god.
only activism when you see your ass going downhill. And then when your ass is going, you're joining the club. Like, yeah, I'm gonna fight the power. But
Right.
the true Malcolm X types will see it from both sides and try to look for a solution and
That's
not
okay.
add into
I
the
see.
drama.
I
So,
see. I like it. I like it.
so that
I'm gonna use that.
that Marjorie Taylor Greene type is going. She started all this shit, and
Yeah.
now she's like, "But I'm with the people now
I'm with the
because
people now.
so that's what I feel like online is. Like people want to be right, but they're still wrong. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. People got to pick their battles or just do some damn homework. I don't know.
I know. There's so many right versions of right too. And then when you have a conversation, you're talking about six things at once. It's like, okay, well, you might be right, but the other person might also be right on points 2 through 4. Like it's just, it's too much. But yeah, I mean, the short answer to your question is I've got no clue. But I do think that we're still, deuces up. We're still fighting our way forward. And
Yeah,
I do think it's good. Like, I think we're okay. We're okay.
we're not giving up. We just have a little bumps in the road. I
We're gonna
blame
have
it on Mercury retrograde because some of
absolutely.
you motherfuckers need to dig a hole and just stay there until it's over.
So it's over.
Until it's over.
Please, please.
Till it's over because God damn.
Yeah. Talk
But
to people online like you talk to the folks at your church.
I don't think some of them go to church. I don't.
Hell,
I
I don't
don't
go to
think
church
they
very
step
often
foot.
either, but I
I
still
say all
like
the time,
people
every
like
day
that.
I'm online, I'm one step away from the gates. I'm the fire is trying to catch up with me. Every day.
I know I'm online too much, or just get off the line. Like really, seriously, we just got to get off the fucking line because everybody just go home. Put your phones down.
Facts. So how can authors and readers better support indie bookstores so hybrid and traditional and indie creatives can thrive in like that indie bookstore space? Because like I said yesterday when I was talking to Nikki Payne, Barnes and Nobles made $3.8 billion out of the $8 billion that was made by chain bookstores.
What? Wait, I
That's
mean, how much?
3.8 billion last year out of the 8 billion as combined from all the chain bookstores.
Damn, 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 damn. That's crazy. Yeah, and my books can't even get into Barnes and Noble, so
That is insane.
wild. Yeah, Barnes and Noble is like a black box. I don't understand how it works. I have like indie books out, like indie bookstore friends that work at Barnes and Noble and indie bookstore friends, and the Barnes and Noble ones are always like, I don't know how the system works, but working with indies is fantastic and getting easier every day. Like direct sales, I think is like the number one way that we can fight the system, because selling directly to an indie bookstore is just, the profit margin is so much higher on every side. The only problem is that it's actually pretty difficult to do, because you have to be able to order like enough copies that, like, you basically have to be able to get them printed from like a cheaper printer, because if I buy like 10 books from Amazon and then try to sell them to an indie bookstore, I just can't. Like, if I buy like 300 copies of my book from like an overseas printer, and I can sell them to a bookstore at like a 55% profit and still make 4 times what I do if an indie bookstore buys 5 copies of my books off of Ingram Sparks. So direct sales and like ordering bulk yourself, which you need space for and you need like the upfront capital for, it's hard to do. But that's definitely one way to work with indie bookstores. And something I did wrong with my release of book 1 in the series was like, I didn't like realize that most people are used to having like a pre-order campaign with like artwork and signed copies from one store. I just let any store that wanted signed copies and artwork have them. And that has actually been like hugely profitable. I mean, of course, it costs money up front, and you got to get the artwork commission and get everything printed and send it all out. It's a huge effort. My PA is phenomenal, opalescent. She is incredible, and she does a lot of that for me now. And I do think that work is like why we ended up getting on the USA Today bestseller list, because bookstores are always looking for like a way to incentivize their merchandise to customers. And so it's just a win-win-win. You know, they can buy the books, you can get them signed, and all that good stuff. So direct sales, offering incentives, and then doing events. I guess that would be the third way too.
So what advice do you give to upcoming authors entering the industry with dreams but limited support?
Yeah, the number one piece of advice I always give is like, again, this is like something I learned from Nicholas Eric, who is like a marketing guru in the author space, but is define your goals. Like, what do you want out of being an author first? And just nail that down. Like, do you want to see, I know some authors are like, I really want to see my book on the New York Times bestseller list. I really want to see my book on the USA Today bestseller list. I really want to see, my book in indie bookstores, or like have an event or do a book signing. And those are all things that require totally different strategies. So if you want the USA Today bestseller thing, there is literally strategy around how you can get your book on the USA Today bestseller list. There's a reason that I do it for my traditionally published books, but not my indie ones. Like for my indie ones, I wouldn't even go there. If your goal, like me, is to just be able to do this full time, that requires a different set of strategies. And then the second piece of advice I would take is like, or give is like spread yourself wide at first if you're starting out in terms of like marketing tactics, because that like finding it's about spreading yourself wide and then paring it down. So you're looking for, sorry, I get like really tactical about this, but like I come from like a marketing background. So it's your number one thing that you do is stick to, like, once you spread yourself wide, you figure out the 3 things you like doing, that you're good at doing, and that have impact that you can see even a little. So for me, like I learned really early on that I sucked at doing ads on Facebook and Amazon. So I do not spend any money on ads ever. I really do like doing social media, and I found innovative ways, like through influencer marketing or like giving away books to like independently curating like an influencer list. Like I found ways to make that work for me, and even just having a presence in general, I found to be helpful. And then I still use this like paid ad, it's by Nicholas Eric, if you look him up, and it's a list of paid promo websites that he curates regularly, and where you can like submit your book if it's ever on sale, and you can get featured in like these different newsletters kind of things. The most known one is called BookBub, which you guys may subscribe to. It always has deals. And if you get your book in there, you can see like huge spikes in sales and stuff like that. And so those are still things that like I do regularly, but I also do like a lot of other stuff now too. And then I guess like Katie Roberts' advice is echoing that, which is like pivot. Don't hesitate to pivot.
Okay. So what's next for you in 2026 and beyond? Like what are we looking at?
I don't know if you guys can hear this like children screaming in the background, but it's try to stay sane because I got kids. It's a lot. And yeah, I've got to submit books, books 1 and 2 in the Villains in the City series. So that's going to be like my big haul. And then, of course, Bonkers Romance. That project is coming out in March. So I am really excited for that.
So where can people buy your books? Indie, direct, Kickstarter, stores, where can we go?
Yeah, all the places. Booksbyelizabeth.com is my website, and that's where I have like my store with signed merch. And then Bonkers Romance, that's on BackerKit right now. And you can like get the notification for the pre-pledge and then yeah, all my stuff's in Kindle Unlimited. So that's the place to get the ebooks, and the audiobooks are wide. So anywhere you get audiobooks. And
So
thank you
where
for my birthday
what
wishes.
oh, your birthday happened?
I saw somebody wished me happy birthday in the comments. And yeah, I was on.
Happy belated birthday.
I don't even know. When you have kids, it's like, do you even have a birthday anymore?
Yeah, I felt that. Even when they get grown, it's the same way. So what's coming up, like book signings, tours, conventions? Will you be
Well,
attending?
I am signed up next year I have never done a book tour. I am like scared to do my own signings. I like prefer to go to cons where there's like other people. But I will maybe work up to that. I'm doing like a small local event in Washington in January, and then at Pocket Bookshop if you're in Washington, come on through. And then I'll be at Love Lit Con in February, and I'm headed to Black Romance Book Festival at the end of May and Imaginary.
I will see you there.
Oh, great. Fantastic. I know everybody's going to be there. It's crazy how many people go. And so awesome. And Imaginarium the week after that. And
So mad I missed out on those goddamn tickets.
Oh, the Imaginarium. I'm really excited about that one.
Miss St. Clair is going to be there. Because Miss St. Clair. Yeah, so I'm bummed about that. But drop your social media links, your newsletter info, if you have a Patreon, and reader groups if you even have that.
Yes, I can do that. That is. You can also just, if you click on me, you can find it at like all the stuff with the link in my bio too.
Okay. So, I hope one day to see you at the Boozy Book Tour.
Where's that?
Boozy Book Tour is myself and my partner Shannon. We both have a indie book tour that we do. The next one is in February. That one is in Las Vegas, and that's the Melanin Ball. It's Pajama Jam themed. Yeah,
that's incredible.
It's gonna be fun. It's 3 days in Vegas of pajamas, movies, laser tag, arcade games, karaoke, and indie literary award, and a Melanin Ball and book signing. So yeah,
like all of my favorite things. Okay, yeah, I'll let me hit you up after and we talk about it because that sounds.
Yeah, we have another one in Denver. That is, it is BDSM. It is.
Girl, what I write about and my own life, they exist very separate.
So wait, that one is interracial, multicultural, dark romance, erotica, and BDSM. Those are the genres for that one. And then in 2027, we're having a big Haunted Mansion fantasy ball in Savannah, Georgia. Yes, it is all Black, and it is horror fantasy
ball.
Yeah, you have to. It's cosplay all weekend.
No, oh my gosh, yes. Okay, yes. And in Savannah, Georgia.
It's October 28th through October 31st.
Sold. 1,000%. That sounds incredible.
The first day we have a Sailor Moon bar crawl, and then we have a Mad Hatter tea party that you have to dress up like Alice in Wonderland tea party. Because it's a company that does urban. She's called the Urban Tea Room, and she's a writer. I mean, she's a reader, and she makes these boxes for authors, and she turns your characters into teas. And her and another reader who owns a bakery is called E Sweet, so they're going to do like crazy teas and stuff for it. We're gonna have panels. It's comic books, it's anime, it's horror, it's psychological thriller, it's fantasy, romantasy, paranormal. Those are the only genres that are going to be there. So yeah.
Oh, and yes. I know. With my babies, February maybe too soon, but you have me for Savannah. That's
2027. We have openings for authors. We only want 75 authors. So, and then we're gonna open it up for readers to buy tickets.
Okay, I'm gonna elbow my way in. I'm still there. That sounds fantastic. Gotta strip some people on the way in.
But yeah, I'll send you all the information when we get off of here. So, I'm going to do your outro. Do you have anything you want to say before we leave here?
No, just thank you. These were intense and awesome questions. I hope I didn't ramble too much.
Oh my God. Yo, as they say, I'm the interviewer with the SAT questions. Yeah.
Love it. I know my brain is slow, but it's churning. Got me going now.
So let me get into your outro. Elizabeth, thank you for gracing the Black Girl Tired Book Talk podcast. Your work expands the boundaries of sci-fi and fantasy, not just by giving us monsters, aliens, and post-apocalyptic chaos, but by centering Black and BIPOC women as the future, the desire, the power, and the resistance. You show indie authors the possibility of transparency. You challenge traditional publishing's gatekeeping. You made dark worlds feel like home for readers who were never meant to be in them. Thank you for showing us what fearless storytelling looks like. Thank you for celebrating us on the page, and thank you for continuing to push the boundaries of imagination. We cannot wait to see what universes you build next. And as y'all know, as I always say, stay loved, stay loud, and stay Black on motherfucking purpose.
I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. So thank you, and I will see you guys later. Bye, y'all.